Good morning, friends. This is Captain Dave with Simple Plan Trucking coming to you from my home in north central Florida. I have to apologize. I promised a Christmas video, and you know how Christmas goes. You get caught up with friends and family and doing and going and eating, and I did all of those things. So today's the 28th, and I'm winding down from Christmas and doing a bunch of things on my honey-do list, so that I can get back on the road 1st of January and knock out the rest of my miles to finish my TNT. Then I can upgrade and roll on down the road and start making some money. So I wanted to, the last few days I've been thinking what I wanted to talk to you about and what my next message was going to be, because my messages come from a place of experience just in the past few months of going through Prime, going through what many of you are thinking about going through if you're thinking about coming into trucking. But really they're messages for life, and they're messages that that I think are applicable to no matter what you're doing. I certainly don't have all the answers. I'm learning, I'm experiencing, I'm living life just like you are. But when I committed to making this channel, I thought I wanted to make it something that people saw value in and they took something away from. So here we go. Take from it what you will, and if not, well then maybe the next one will be better for you. But today I want to talk about the topic is, what is your why? In my previous positions, things that I've done in my life, I've worked in the corporate world, and I've had the opportunity to go to a lot of leadership trainings and self improvement, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I actually was trained to teach that class. I've also gone to the Dale Carnegie course, How to Make Friends and Influence People, which is a fantastic course. If you have a chance to do it, go ahead and do it. And just a lot of things that have to do with making the most of the situation that you're in. And the question that is often posed, and I think is an important one no matter what you're doing, is, what is your why? What is your why? Why do you get up in the morning and go to work? Why do you do the things that you do? Because all of us only have a certain number of days on this planet, a certain amount of trips around the sun, and we need to try to enjoy our lives, to find self-fulfillment and to be happy. And so I think we need to always ask ourselves, what is your why? Why are we doing what we're doing? In my situation, at 57 years old, I decided to leave a federal job and to get into trucking. I think that for me, I just needed to, it was time for a change. I'd done the same thing for a long time. My job was very fulfilling. I was able to help those that were in need, and for a long time, it was all I needed to be able to get up every day and to go to work and to give 100% and to make a difference in people's lives. But eventually, I kind of burned out on that. I got tired of doing that, and I needed a change. I needed a challenge. I needed to learn something new. So for me, I needed something in my life that gave me the opportunity to learn new skills. And quite honestly, I'd never even considered trucking before. By chance, I caught some videos from a lot of different people working for different companies, and so slowly started to consider trucking as a career. I guess that one thing that I always kind of like, my code that I've always lived by is God, family, country. And when I served in the military, their credo was God, country, family, and I always kind of had a problem with that. But I guess I understand why, when you're serving in the armed forces, you have to put country first. You have to sometimes put country before family. I was lucky that when I served in the military, I didn't have children, and so I didn't have to make the choices to be separated from them. So anyone that puts the uniform on now and has to be away from family, especially children, I give you a lot of respect, and certainly sometimes feel like that's something that I don't think I would have wanted to do or been able to do, but in my life I didn't have to. So God, family, country. And I think if you put the things in that order, if you subscribe to the same principles that I do, then it makes things easy in how you make your decisions. My family now is much different than it was just a few years ago because all of our kids are grown and they're out on their own and they're living their lives. So my family these days is basically my wife and I. And so when trucking as a possibility entered my life, I started to think, you know what, maybe this is something that we could do. And we is the operative word there because I would never even consider trucking by myself and being away from my family, which is my wife, for 4 or 5 or 6 weeks at a time and then come home for a week. That's just not something that I was interested in doing. And again, there are those out there that do, and it works for you, and more power to you. That's great. But for me, I needed to find something that we could do together. And so when I put things into perspective and I say, what is my why? My why for coming to Prime, more than anything else, was financial. I'll just go roll out there and say it. Trucking is a sacrifice, and there are people that love trucking and they wouldn't want to do anything else. And I hope after a year or so I can say the same thing, that I'm very happy being out on the road and enjoying trucking, and I think that I will enjoy it. But if you're considering coming into it and you think it's not going to be a sacrifice, you probably need to take another look at it. You are going to be away from your home, wherever your home is. I'm always amazed at people that show up at orientation and they ask their trainer, well, will I get to go home every weekend? That's just not in the cards when you work at Prime, because Prime is an over-the-road company. And so what that means is you're going to be out. Certainly if you're a company driver, you earn 1 day off for every 7 that you work. So think about that for just a minute. If you want to be home for a week, you need to work 7 weeks. If you want to come home for 3 days, you need to work 3 days. You could work 3 weeks. You could work for 3 weeks and then come home for 3 days. And there's really not much wiggle room in that. Now, you may get a route that brings you by your home and you could stop and stay overnight possibly, but when you're a company driver, the home time is pretty much regulated by the number of days that you work. 1 day off for every week that you work. The difference with being a lease or lease owner is that you are able to take off whenever you want. However, you find yourself in a position where you just can't take off whenever you want. You can, but you better build that time up and you better have saved some money and put back for when you are on home time, because that truck payment comes every single week, whether you're working or not. You don't get to take a week off from your truck payment just because you are home for a week. What is that? Well, that's $1,500. Ballpark, $1,100 plus other expenses that are tied into that. So you better have that money set aside if you want to spend a week at home. Is that easy to do? Some would say, yeah. I haven't lived it yet myself, but all of my research indicates that the money is very good if you should choose to go lease or lease owner as opposed to being a company driver. Is it different? Yeah. Is there more responsibilities? Absolutely. We frequently get asked the question, should I go lease or should I go company? And it's really a tough question to answer without talking with you, without knowing what your life experiences have been, your maturity level, and your ability to manage yourself. If you're not a self-starter, if you're not someone that says every morning when you wake up, I need to get after it, I need to be looking to finish this load and get on to the next one. If you're not good with managing your money, if you've never really been able to manage your checking account or to save money or put money away, I would say probably not. But those are skills that, for someone that hopefully by the time you've reached my age, which is a little older, you've not mastered them, but are at least able to manage yourself. And so for me, it's kind of no-brainer that I'm going to go lease owner once I finish TNT, because I really think those pieces of it are things that I can manage pretty easily. Is trucking difficult? Well, The simple day-to-day of driving, no. It's very enjoyable. It's very non-stressful. Now, if it's bad weather, if it's nice, if you're in traffic, those things can cause stress. If you're at a shipper or receiver and you're having to wait, sometimes they're not the nicest people to us. Sometimes we deal with attitudes. All those things can cause stress, but I think if you're a person that's able to let things roll off your back and just roll on down the road and say, well, you know what, I'll probably never see that person again in my life, so it's over with, I'm done with it, fine. If you're someone that has experiences road rage, if you let the actions of others on the road make you angry, you might want to reconsider coming into trucking. In my short time in TNT, I've already had several experiences where cars and smaller trucks have pulled right in front of me and caused me to have to put on my brakes. Not bad, not like a hard brake situation, but enough where it gets your attention because they're not thinking about you stopping that truck behind them. So yeah, I would say there are many things that you need to consider, but all in all, I don't think it's a hard job to do. I don't think it's hard to learn how to do it, and I think that the opportunity to make money, good money, really outweighs the stress that comes along with the job. So again, when you look at what your why is, my why for choosing trucking was, wow, I can make a lot of money. What's a lot of money? Again, I've said it before, others have said it before. My definition of a lot of money is probably very different than what yours is. So I'm just going to lay some numbers out there. This is no guarantee that you're going to make this. It's no guarantee that I'm going to make it. But I've talked to enough people now, and I've seen people have shared the money that they've made with me. And so I feel like I'm pretty confident in sharing what you could make, not what you will make, but what you could make. My goal when I came to Prime was to put myself in a position in a short amount of time where I could double the money that I made in my previous job. So my goal in my first year is to make $200,000. Now, that's on a team truck. That's driving with my wife and she driving like I am. So it's not in the cards really for a solo driver to make $200,000 a year, at least not at Prime. Now, there will probably be people that will hear this and say, well, I make that kind of money. Great, if you do, fantastic. But really, it's all in the loads that you get, and it comes down to time. People will tell me all the time, oh, when you're a lease or you're a lease owner, you don't look at it in miles, you look at it in revenue to the truck. I get it, I understand that. That's a true statement. You want to drive the most amount of miles, the least amount of miles for the highest revenue that you can get. That's a goal when you're company. However, you always have to consider the miles that you drive because miles are time, right? In my first month, before I'm able to get my wife through training and we're able to team together, during my first month, I'm going to be driving solo. And probably I won't be able to drive any more than 3,000 to 3,500 miles a week. That's aggressive, especially as a new person coming right out of the chute. And that's driving hard. That's driving, 8 or 9 hours a day. I'm willing to do that. I'm going to do that. It's just going to be me. I'm going to drive and eat and sleep, and that's about it for that first month because I want to get a lot of experience and I want to make as much money as I can. But the two biggest numbers that you need to look at, in my opinion, if you're considering coming into lease or lease owner, you'll get a settlement that just has a ton of information. And if you've never looked at a P&L or you've evaluated anything like that, it's going to look like Greek to you. You're not going to understand most of what is on there. But what I've come to learn that the two biggest numbers are revenue to the truck and total miles driven. That would include deadhead miles because that's time, right? So if you take those two numbers, you're able to figure out what your revenue is per mile, what you're making a mile. And I can't put a number on what that should be or what that is. I have heard folks say that at Prime they're making north of $2 a mile average. Some loads are a lot less than that. Some loads are a lot more than that. But then you can do the math from there. If you're able to have those two numbers, and you consider coming into this as a career, you can crunch the numbers yourself. You can say, hey, as a solo driver, if I'm able to drive 3,000 miles in a week and I make $2 a mile, how much money will my truck make? Well, you do the math. 3,000 miles times $2 a mile would be $6,000. And if you manage your money well, and if you manage your expenses well, you should be able to put in your pocket about half of that. So that would be about $3,000 a week as a solo driver. Do the average drivers make that at Prime? No. Prime shares their numbers all the time. The average solo driver makes about $1,200 to $1,500 a week. Big difference between $3,000 and $1,500. Now that would be a company driver as opposed to as a lease or a lease owner. But strangely enough, the average lease and lease owners, the average, make about the same amount of money, because it all comes down to what your motivation level is. Are you driven? If you have a goal to make 3,000 miles in a week as a solo driver, and you're driving and you're a lease or a lease owner, if you have that's completely doable. You can do that. You could make $3,000 in a week. Maybe not in your first year, but certainly after year one, if you drive aggressively, you drive with intention, you should be able to make $3,000 a week. And if you're not, you need to ask yourself why. I see videos all the time with people that say, oh, I didn't because of this, or it was my fleet manager, or those shippers and the receivers, they keep me forever. All those things certainly play into it. But let me tell you something. These fleet managers want you to be successful. They want you to make money, because guess what? Their success or failure depends on you being successful. When you make money, they make money. When they make money, Prime makes money. Prime wants you to be successful. So it's completely doable to make that kind of money. If your situation is like mine and you're married and you are going to come in with your husband or your wife, the sky is really the limit. I mean, my friend Eric is also my trainer. He would tell you that as a team at Prime, it literally rains money, because someone always has hours, and you're being paid double. And sometimes even the loads pay more, because the teams can get the freight there faster. Not a whole lot more, but slightly more. You can also drive. You can also take the high value loads that have to get there in faster. So the teams a lot of times will get the high value loads. So it's very lucrative, and you can make a ton of money. And so I'll tell you that my goal in my first year is to make $200,000 a year driving with my wife. Is that an aggressive goal? Absolutely. There are those out there that are teams that will say, you'll never make that your first year. There were those that are encouraging that will say, if you get out there and bust your tail, you can absolutely do that in your first year. There are those that have no clue what you would make in your first year, because they're not really looking at it objectively and saying, well, if I do this, I can make this, that kind of thing. So in my limited experience and what I've learned from both talking to people and doing the research on my own, it's entirely possible to make $200,000 as a team driving for Prime in 1 year. So that's my goal. Sam Walton, who owned Walmart, a place I worked for years, had a saying, had an acronym, when you have the letters that spell out a saying. We used to do the Hetke dance every morning at the morning meeting before Sam's Clubs opened up. So Sam's Club is owned by Walmart. I worked for Sam's. And we would do the Hetke dance. And what the Hetke dance was, it stands for high expectations are the key to everything. Okay? So I have a goal. I have high expectations that in my first year, my wife and I are going to make $200,000 trucking. I might not meet that goal. I might only make $180,000 in my first year. Or you know what? I might make $160,000 in my first year. But if I don't have that goal of $200,000 a year, if I set my goal at 150, then maybe I'll only make 130 or 120. So have high goals. Know what your why is. Know why you're doing it, why you're making this commitment, and why you're coming out here. and then go out every day and bust your tail. My friend and former PSD instructor, Daniel, aka Twisted Big D, would say that you have to be vicious out here. Now that sounds kind of mean, or kind of, oh, vicious. Do I really want to be vicious? But what he means when he says it, every single day, you better get up in the morning and you better hit the ground running if you want to be successful. If making money is one of the things that makes you be successful, then you better hit the ground running. You better learn your job. You better be leaning forward. When you get a load, you better figure out the best way and the fastest way to get it there, and get it there early, and get it delivered, and get your next load and move on down the road. I'll tell you, Daniel, I was very impressed with him at PSD because he is a driven individual. This guy works on the pad at in Springfield. He was the Prime Trainer of the Year last year, and it's no surprise that he won that award, because guess what? He works, he works, he works. He has us there sometimes at 6 in the morning. He's there at 5 in the morning on the pad and ready to go. He's taking that first hour to prepare his mind, get ready to go, or whatever, but he says, you be ready at 6 o'clock. And don't be there at 6:01, because if you're at 6:01, you're late. So I was always there, 10 till 6 and ready to go. But that's the kind of commitment that it takes to achieve the results that you want. Too many times I hear people saying, I didn't get what I want, or the Prime was bad to me, or it was my fleet manager, or it was this, or it was that, or they didn't treat me right. But usually it's because of a mistake that we made. I said it before, I'll say it again. Prime wants us to be successful, and Prime has given us a roadmap to success where there's no excuse not to be successful. Get out there and bust your tail, especially if you're a brand new driver and you're coming here to get your training for free, and you can make great money. Can you make more money somewhere else? Probably. But there's a lot of positives to staying with Prime too. We'll cover that in other videos, but that's really it for today. I just wanted to let you know that I'm back. I'll be back into Springfield, traveling back up there probably the night of the 1st, and be ready to meet up with Eric, and we'll take a load on the 2nd, or on the 3rd, depending on when we can get out. But just want to let you know, I'm here in Florida, still enjoying my home time. My wife and I will celebrate our anniversary on December 31st, New Year's Eve, so we got something special planned for that. And then shortly after that, I'll get in the car and head back to Springfield. If you liked what you heard today, please let me know, leave comments, ring the bell, subscribe to my channel, and if what I'm saying is helpful to you, or if you have questions about coming to Prime, please reach out. Please ask me. Ask me here, leave your contact information, private message me, whatever. I will get back with you. And if what I'm saying is helpful to you and you feel so inclined, feel free to use me as a referral when you come to Prime. And my driver code is GRAJDA. Again, that's Grajda, GRAJDA. It's been good talking with y'all today. Look forward to meeting y'all out on the road and in the terminals. God bless y'all. Take care.